I reviewed lots of different kinds of motorcycles, usually at demo days or from dealership demos, but I'm doing something different today. I'm demoing a bike that I just bought. This past weekend I bought a 2025 CFMOTO Ibex 450, or 450 MT as it's called in some places. I've literally never ridden this bike. I bought it from a dealership, loaded it in my van, brought it home, unloaded it, and I'm going to do my first ride right now. I want to bring you along for my first ride and impressions of the CFMOTO Ibex 450. So as I mentioned, this is a very different type of review because this is my own personal bike. I bought this bike with my own money. This isn't a demo bike. This isn't a dealership bike. This is mine. So I want to get into a few things about what I like, what I don't like, and then also just generally talk about why I bought this bike, because I've never done this before. I've never bought a bike specifically for content purposes, and I want to talk about that and what my plans are for what you guys can see and expect from this. This should be fun. So this bike has 4 miles on it right now, 5 miles. It just crossed 5 miles. Here are my very first impressions of leaving my neighborhood in just, I don't know, 45 seconds. This transmission is so smooth and easy. It's very approachable. Yes, it's a big, wide bike, but as far as the seat height goes and the weight of it, it's something that you can put a new rider on and they're not going to get terrified of it. They're not going to look at it and go, oh man, that is a big adventure bike. That's a big touring bike. I even told my 13-year-old daughter, like, if I keep this long enough, this could be a good first bike for you. She looked at it and she's like, I don't know, that's pretty tall. But then she got closer and said, you know what? You might be right. My brother-in-law who saw this bike, he's like, what is it? I've never heard of it. What's a CFMOTO? I'm like, well, CFMOTO's been around for a long time. They've made a bunch of different things all across the world, but they're fairly new to the US. And I actually did a video on some of the other CFMOTO brand models a couple years ago. I rode the Ibex 800 and I thought that was a great bike. I thought that was something that was really cool. And also the Adventura, which is more of a sport touring bike to compete with the Versus 650, which if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I had a Versus 650. I did some off-roading with it. I did a lot of riding with it and I loved that bike. I found it hard to replace that bike, but I did. I sold it last week and I bought this one this past weekend. Let me talk about why for a second. So I bought my Versus 650 about 4 years ago when I first moved to Texas because the Sam Houston National Forest is not far from my house and I wanted to go explore it, but I also knew that I wasn't sure how much off-roading I was going to do. I've got dirt bikes to run the trails. I could do single track trails on the dirt bikes, no problem. But if I wanted to ride to the trails and then ride at the trails, I needed a street legal bike that could do both. So I got the Versus 650 and I'm like, oh, I'll go all in ADV. I'll be an ADV rider now. And I gotta say, that bike was incredibly comfortable. It was very easy to ride. It was really good at a lot of things, but it was not great at anything. It was one of those bikes that it's versatile, which is why they call it the Versus, but I wanted something that was more off-road friendly. And I'm looking at other bikes like the Tenere 700. I'm looking at bikes like the CRF 300 RL, like the rally version, even the KLX 300 trail bike. I love Kawasaki's, you know I love Kawasaki's if you know my channel, but I wanted something that was new and different, and I wanted something that was a bike that could grow with me, that I could learn on, and I could help you learn on too. I do like to do a lot more than just reviews. I like to do a lot of how-to content, not necessarily how to ride, but how to work on your bike, how to be a better bike owner. So that's what I want to do with this bike, is for all of those people who are in the same shoes as me of buying an ADV bike for your first time. How can we maintain this bike? What kind of modifications do we need to do? Those are all things I plan to do on this bike, so if you like that kind of stuff, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and keep up with what I do, because it's going to be a fun ride for sure. This bike is very well balanced so far. It's very easy to ride at low speeds. It doesn't feel top heavy. It doesn't feel like the suspension is too bad. Again, first 5 minutes of riding the bike. I haven't done this anything off-road yet, so I want to push this bike and show you what it can do and what it can't do. But first 5 minutes, it feels really nice. It's comfortable. The ergonomics are okay. My hands are pretty good for me. I'm 6 feet tall, so I might end up getting the tall rally seat. We'll see how this one handles off-road. This is just a very approachable bike. It's got a lot of cool tech to it too. It's got ABS, it's got traction control, and you can turn that off right here. There's an ABS off button right there. I haven't gone through all of the modes yet of what you can do on this thing. Most that I've done is I hooked up the app through the CFMOTO Ride Sync app. That helps you understand where the bike stands as far as GPS location. You can track where the bike's at. I keep getting text messages if somebody touches the bike, that kind of thing. 2-year warranty is fantastic, but this is one thing I absolutely loved about this bike. One-hand adjustment for the tall windshield. This is not the stock windshield. This does have a tall windshield on it, but the fact that I can raise it up while I'm riding is awesome. So if I'm on the highway, I throw it up. Again, 6 feet tall, so I can create a nice bubble around me. I think it's pretty sweet. This is not an Africa Twin. This is not a BMW GS. This is a small baby ADV bike, which is fantastic, again, for learners. KTM threw up a challenge and said, okay, you've got the 450, let's make a 390 Adventure R. And in 2025, they came out with the new Adventure R. And the reason I went with this over the KTM are a few reasons why. But I feel like CFMOTO is one of those brands that's going to just continue to get better. Yes, I know CFMOTO had a relationship with KTM. I have never enjoyed working on a KTM bike. I've owned a couple of them over the years, primarily dirt bikes, but every time I turned a wrench on them, I said, you know, I don't like this. I think it's engineered in a weird way, and I wanted to challenge myself with the brand that I've never worked on before and see what I think of it that way too. There is not cruise control. I do kind of wish this bike would have cruise control, but at the price point, I'm not terribly surprised. It is still a cable-driven throttle and a cable-driven clutch, so that is not a problem. Again, lower price point, and something I didn't mention was the price point. This bike can be found for $64.99 US at any CFMOTO dealer. I chose Iron Supply in Katy, Texas, because those guys just, honestly, they love dirt bikes. They push riding off-road really hard, and I've met them a few times at different events, and I thought, hey, these guys are cool. I want to ride with them more, and I want to build a relationship with them, so I went to them, and they had this bike that was kind of tricked out with some of the CFMOTO aftermarket parts, and we came together on a deal. They are sponsoring a couple of the videos that we're putting together on this, but I don't have any monetary gain from them. I'm not getting a commission for any kickbacks or anything. If you happen to just be in the area and you're looking for a CFMOTO, an Indian, or a Triumph, those guys are a great place to stop. It's actually got a pretty decent pickup. It's not like it's going to throw me back in my seat like my 1000 does, but for a 450 and a small bike, it's got some pickup, some get up and go. I'm gonna go check out the highway in a second too, but I gotta pick up some stuff. I'm helping a buddy work on his Grom. Honda Grom needs some carb work, so gotta pick up some stuff to help him. Stand by while we grab supplies. By the way, I am still using this Peak Designs phone mount. This thing is amazing. One-hand operation, don't have to twist. I love it. Not sponsored by Peak, but I have a link in my Amazon page. Check these guys out. I love their stuff. This transmission is just so smooth. I wonder how it feels off-road, like if there's any lag to it. We'll find out for sure. Not today, but we'll find out once the engine's actually broken in. We are going to go check out the highway. Break-in procedure says I'm supposed to stay under 4,000 RPM for the first 300 miles. That's a bit low. That's going to be a bit too slow for actual highway speeds. So what I'm going to do is vary the RPMs. That's what I found has worked the best. Rather than limiting the RPMs, you vary the RPMs so that the pistons and the cylinders can mesh together pretty well and create a good little partnership inside the engine. Alright, let's do a little bit of a highway pull. It's definitely a 450. It's not fast, but it's smooth. And yes, I know that wasn't a highway, but 0 to like 40, 0 to 45, it's not super buzzy. It's a parallel twin, so it balances it out pretty well. But you can look in the mirrors. I don't know if you can see it on camera. I'm going to try and show you, but it's not very, very buzzy. Even my Z1000, obviously that's an older inline 4, but you look in the mirrors, you can see cars, but you can't see what they are. On this bike, I can look and I can see that's a Honda Element. I can see there's a red Chevy pickup truck. Like I think that's what those are, but I can tell, so that's cool. So what else did I consider when I was looking at this bike? I also considered the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 because that is a very beginner-friendly adventure bike. But the reason I didn't go with that is not necessarily as street-friendly. That's more of a true scrambler-style adventure bike. I feel like with the big windscreen and the fairing on this, it's better suited for riding around. And in Houston, where I live, there are times that I'm on the bike for an hour just to get to other parts of Houston. I considered enduro bikes, but for the same reason, I wanted something that would be able to get me to the trails in a better fashion than essentially a dirt bike with the bigger gas tank. This is a 6-speed. I'm already in 6th gear, but I'm doing 67 miles per hour, so that 450 is showing right now. At 7,000 RPM, it does get a bit buzzy, but this creates a nice good bubble in front of me from the windscreen. I could raise it up too if I really wanted to. Let's try that and see what happens. Oh, those look like fun. Minimal buffeting. I can feel a bit on my shoulders, but it's not terrible. It's very rideable. All right, I want to try some passing power. So I'm in 6th gear. I'm cruising at 65. I want to see how easily I can overtake this truck right here. It still has some left in it. I obviously don't want to hit redline, but I could feel it had a little bit of power. Again, 450. Now, I mentioned I live in Houston. The highway speeds are, the speed limit's 65, but typical cruising speed during this time of day is like 75, 80, 90 miles an hour in some cases. Yes, I'm aware that is illegal, but that's just the flow of traffic in this area. I don't know that this bike could do those speeds. We'll see once I get the engine more broken in, but I don't foresee being able to go 90 miles an hour on this bike. It's a very easy bike to ride. I think as long as you're not super short, this would be a good first ADV bike for virtually anybody, even if you don't have experience on a tall bike. That's cool. That was a camper on like a Unimog. It said Bigfoot. That was super sweet. All right, here's something I want to try. I want to try standing at 50 miles an hour, see how that feels. Don't hit me, truck. Don't hit me, truck. You know, it's pretty solid, pretty comfortable. The bars are in a good spot. The seat is in a good spot for me to grab. I feel like that's a comfortable riding position at that speed. I do wish it had a little more oomph to it, like a little punch of power. I've seen a lot of people on social media and YouTube videos and the media just saying that this bike is the unicorn bike. I feel like that is overselling it a bit. I do really enjoy this bike, and in the first 15 miles I don't regret the purchase at all. I think this is going to be a fantastic bike for me. So I got to my destination and my buddy is like, hey, beautiful bike, but did you know you're smoking? I was like, what? No. I've developed a small oil leak, what looks to be from the oil pickup just next to the oil filter. So when I get home, I got to figure out what to do. If I want to approach the dealership and say, hey, look, there's a problem with it, can you fix it? Problem with that for me is I don't like having other people work on my bike. Obviously it's under warranty, but I want to do my own work. So I might just dig into it to myself and see what we can make happen. But I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes. But let's talk about final thoughts on the bike. Let's talk about if I think this bike is worth $6,500. Obviously, I think it's worth $6,500 because I paid $6,500 plus the aftermarket accessories and plus the tax tag, title, all that jazz. I ended up paying $9,000 out the door. It's $9,000.13. So I'm very happy with my purchase price. I'm happy with the bike so far. 18 miles in, I like it. It's comfortable. It rides smooth, and I think I could ride this bike quite a bit all over Texas. So we'll see what happens with adventuring it. I'd love to go break in the miles quickly so I can then get it out to the trails. I don't necessarily want to go ride the trails until I get past breaking point, just to consider the motor and whatnot. But stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you've got questions about the bike or questions about the decision process, let me know. I'll try to help out as best as I can. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.